I will show you optimized settings to increase Forza Horizon 6's performance by up to 230%. And these settings will also lower VRAM usage by 3 to 4 GB as well. Forza Horizon 6 offers a satisfying number of graphics options to tweak, and they scale really well, making this game a well-rounded PC port. Let's start by taking a look at the CPU performance. Without ray tracing, the frame rate holds up to around the mid-80 FPS range on an R5 3600X. You heard me right, over 80 FPS on an old mid-range CPU from 2019. Now that's optimization. As for ray tracing, it drops CPU performance noticeably to the mid-60 FPS range. It looks like this game is really well CPU optimized. A good start so far. Now let's get into the settings, starting with the upscalers. I was surprised by the game's native TAA image quality. It is one of the best implementations I have seen, as it almost looks as good as DLSS, which retains the most detail. As for XeSS and FSR, they both present a pretty soft and blurry image. Their weaknesses can be observed even more clearly when in motion. Now, there is a sharpening filter that you can increase if you're stuck with them, which is already in use by the way, to the default value of half, but generally speaking, I would avoid XeSS and FSR 3.1.5 and use DLSS if your GPU supports it. The car level of detail setting increases the overall graphical complexity of cars. What's most important, however, are car interiors, which look like they come straight from a PS3 game if not using Ultra or higher. Ultra does come with a measurable impact to performance, but since it's only around 4% and this game is all about cars, I think it's worth it. The environment texture quality setting has a gradual impact to environmental textures. You will notice some low-res textures when using low, medium and high. Ultra fixes this issue, while Extreme has a small but hard to notice improvement over Ultra. Medium and high have a minimal increase in VRAM usage, while Ultra increases VRAM usage further by over 1 GB, and Extreme demands a further 1+ GB of VRAM over Ultra, and it slightly impacts FPS as well. I recommend using Ultra for the best balance, and only using Extreme if you have a lot of spare VRAM. The environment geometry quality setting affects many things, mainly level of detail, view distance, crowd density, and foliage density. That's what I could observe. It may also affect other things. Performance-wise, up to high, it's negligible, while Ultra lowers FPS by around 14%, and Extreme further lowers FPS by another 5% or so. While the improvement Ultra makes is quite noticeable, I'm gonna have to recommend using high as the optimized setting, and I highly recommend turning this up to Ultra if you have spare performance. The car reflection quality setting can be split up into two parts, exteriors and interiors. For exteriors, the effect on car reflections can be noticeable up to high, while the improvement on Ultra and Extreme can be pretty hard to notice. For interiors, some effects are disabled on very low and low. On medium, the windshield reflections are now enabled, reflecting the driver's hands and steering wheel, while the improvement on the higher option starts to become very hard to notice. I would like to point out that the mirror reflections play at a low frame rate when using very low or low. They only start playing at the normal frame rate on medium. Performance-wise, there is a gradual yet measurable drop with each option, up to high. Above high, the impact becomes negligible. I found that the medium option has the best balance. For screen space reflections, the visual impact depends on the surface. Water bodies, for example, don't really see a noticeable difference, but for roads, buildings, puddles, and even some car reflections, they see a direct improvement. And performance-wise, this setting can be demanding, depending on the scene. I found that the high option offers a good balance. Ray-traced reflections on low barely look better than standard screen space reflections. Only on medium does it start looking like it should. High has a minimal improvement over medium. Performance-wise, it costs a lot in both FPS and VRAM consumption. In some scenes, it doesn't even look like it makes any difference. The visual improvement of ray-traced reflections in this game is not worth it, especially since the standard screen space reflections already look quite good in this game. I highly recommend disabling this setting. Shadow quality actually looks quite alright on low. Medium and high offer small improvements, while extreme has the largest difference, but impacts FPS noticeably. As the performance difference between low and ultra is negligible, I recommend ultra for the best balance. Night shadows are responsible for two things. Using ultra enables headlight shadows, and using extreme furthermore enables moon shadows, which actually make a nice improvement to the visuals, but both come at a large cost. I cannot justify enabling either for the optimized settings, so I recommend turning these features off and only enabling them if you have some performance to spare. Screen space global illumination has a gradual improvement on medium and high, while the improvement is very hard to spot on ultra. Since medium already looks quite good, and high and ultra further decrease performance measurably, I recommend using medium for the best balance. Ray-traced global illumination replaces the standard screen space global illumination, but its effect is flat on low. Medium and high offer noticeable improvements, but come at quite a large cost to performance and VRAM usage. I measured a 41% frame rate drop when going from off to high. This setting also has a very annoying visual issue. Because the game uses a low quality denoiser, it introduces what I can best describe as shimmering shading in low light scenarios. We've seen this issue in other games. Keep this setting off. The shader quality setting makes overall subtle improvements to the game's materials and lighting. In this scene, all I could notice was that the water's shading was improved, and that the terrain textures had displacement enabled on ultra. In this other scene, some trees started to look of better quality, and the tree line in the distant terrain started to fill up more, with other minor improvements that are barely noticeable. The performance impact is very small up to high, while ultra starts to impact performance noticeably. Therefore, I recommend using high for better performance, and only use ultra if you later have some performance to spare. As for the audio quality setting, I found no measurable performance difference. Keep it on ultra. I suspect it was only introduced as a legacy option for handhelds or very weak PCs with weak CPUs. For the deformable terrain quality, I don't know if it's just me, I haven't found the right spot to test it, or if it's just not implemented properly, or maybe it's broken, but I honestly couldn't find any difference across all options in both image quality and performance. However, I did find that the VRAM usage increased on ultra and even further on extreme, so keep it on high for now and tell us in the comments if this setting gets fixed. The particle effects quality setting on very low disables most particle effects, while the difference between low and ultra seemed to be unnoticeable. Across the many scenes I tested, even performance seems to be within the margin of error. Keep this setting on ultra. The volumetric fog quality setting was hard to compare, as the effect was subtle, except for car headlights, which revealed that this setting makes gradual improvements with each option. Performance seems to be the same between low and high, while ultra and extreme slightly drop FPS. Therefore, I recommend high for the best balance. When enabling the lens effect setting, I couldn't notice any difference in image quality between low and ultra. Performance, however, was slightly impacted, even when the lens effects weren't being activated. Therefore, for basically free FPS, keep this setting on low. Here are the optimized settings. I would like to thank Stadolishi for being a Patreon supporter and helping this channel to keep creating high quality performance investigative content. If you also like what you see and would like to support the channel further, the Patreon link is in the description. I would like to point out that just driving around Tokyo City won't really stress test your performance. What does so is actually being in a race at night with rainy weather, and thankfully, the game offers a built-in benchmark with these exact conditions. Just go to Settings, Graphics and Performance, and click on the first option called Start Benchmark Mode. This is the worst case scenario. If you achieve your desired performance here, then you are good to go for the entire rest of the game. Now let's take a look at the performance comparisons. Using max settings at native 1440p, the game averages around 18 FPS and uses up almost all 12 gigs of VRAM. Also notice how VRAM usage is spilling into regular RAM, as the RAM usage is around 2 gigs higher than when not near the limit. Using the optimized settings increases our average frame rate to around the mid-50s. That's a 200% increase in FPS just by using the right settings. And VRAM usage dropped from around 12 to a comfortable 7.8 gigs. And it doesn't spill into regular RAM anymore. Enabling DLSS quality further increases FPS by around 11 FPS or 20%, a less than expected improvement as with other games. But this is the same result that we got with Forza Horizon 5, because it also had a minimal improvement with upscalers. Nonetheless, it's still worth turning on. It appears that this game is really well optimized and incredibly scalable. What do you guys think?